But you'd rather vote for somebody who is a liar, who is terrible at his job, who is an embarrassment. You'd rather vote for that person than to vote for somebody of color who is very qualified, who is overqualified. And you're doing that because you don't feel good enough. And because you're realizing that all of those myths about white superiority are actually wrong. Like, I'm glad that a lot of Latino and Hispanic artists are now behind Kamala Harris for president, but why did it take y'all so long? It took you so long because you probably thought you were different. You probably were like, yeah, I know he said these horrible things about these groups, but he doesn't think that about me. How many times do we have to repeat history? If there is a group that is oppressive, that is always talking down about other groups, how do you think that you're different? Why do you think you're different? Because you believe the lie of the colonizers. They tricked all of us. They tricked all of us. That's what they do. So as you're nursing your understandably hurt feelings, I want this to inform you as you move through life after this. Think about your long-held beliefs about other ethnic groups. And ask yourselves, why do they say Black people are lazy? Why do they say Black people are dumb if we always look to Black women to save us? Why do they say women are weak when women are holding it down for the majority of the households? How can women be weak if we are the ones that go through a menstrual cycle that can sometimes be as painful as actually giving birth? We're not weak. We're actually quite strong. But we need to be seen as weak so that the men in charge can retain the power. Same with issues of race. They couldn't afford to risk all of the Black and brown people in the diaspora getting along. So what do? They inject colorism into the mix. Like it's a tale as old as time. They did that on plantations, telling the lighter-skinned enslaved people that they were better than the darker-skinned enslaved people. This is a very painful lesson for people to learn, and I do not glory in being right. I don't. But I've always been very frustrated when I hear conversations where people look at Black Americans and ask why you haven't gotten ahead without examining the power structures of capitalist white supremacy in action. Ask yourself why there are so many businesses in Black neighborhoods that are not owned by Black people. It's not for lack of trying, because if you really do your research on American history, you'll find that there were thriving towns of Black people with their own businesses. They were doing very, very well. You had a lot of Black wealth. Look up Rosewood. Look at riots that took place because of the word of a white woman who said a Black woman did or a Black man did something to them, and they burned down entire towns. And then when you do the research, it's like, oh, this was a thriving Black town, and they destroyed it. And who destroyed it? Poor white people, or people that were not doing as well financially. Why did they do that? Because they had been told that they were supposed to have more than Black people. They were told that they were better than Black people, but really the only color people see is green. Period. And if you have green, they'll do business with you. But the thing is, a lot of the Trumpers would never even be allowed in one of his buildings. And I'm talking about white Trumpers. He doesn't allow poor white people. He doesn't allow poor people in his businesses, period. And I think we really need to re-examine the myth of white men as the all-knowing patriarchs. Vice President Harris is literally the American dream, the epitome of the American dream. And yet, her identity has been just up for discussion, which is so inappropriate and so wrong. And that also goes back to white supremacy, right? It's all connected. And I'm just really hoping that in the midst of this pain and frustration and this hurt, that we can finally start working together as people of color and stop leaning into whiteness as the end-all be-all. Because no matter how close you get to whiteness, they're never going to let you get to where they are. They're always going to come out with something that puts you at a distance. Now that we have not only a woman, but also the child of 2 brown and black immigrants, we should be celebrating this. But now what's happening? They are coming out of the woodwork saying what they really believe. So do you believe that about yourself? Do you believe that you're less than? Don't just get mad now in this election. Let this inform you that white supremacy is real. Black Americans are not lazy as a people. That was a lie to keep you distracted, to keep us separated, to keep the same people in power. You never questioned why they enslaved humans if they were lazy? Like, when you think about it like that, it doesn't make sense. It tears apart all arguments, okay? So let's go back and examine why there's so much hate toward Black Americans and why you thought you were exempt. You are not white. You're not. And they will never hesitate to remind you of that if you get too close to power. And we saw that. That was basically a Nazi rally. And it's disgusting that they were able to hold it. But let's not take this time to be surprised. Like, yeah, let your shock wear off, let your hurt wear off, but get in the voting booth and vote. And also, be prepared, because no matter who wins the election, his entire voter base has really been revved up to commit all kinds of heinous acts. Just know that that party is not fighting for you. That speech, everything they say, you have to remember they are not fighting for you. They want to go back to a Christian white society where whiteness is in charge, brown people don't have to be seen, and Black people are subservient. That's what they want. When they say make America great again, they weren't thinking of you. They were not thinking of anything you need. Think about the anti-immigrant rhetoric we've heard. That is not about white immigrants. It's not. And even if you're white passing, that's some stuff that you're going to have to deal with on your own. Because even if you're white passing, with this rhetoric, there's no hiding who you actually are. So let's stop looking to whiteness as the authority. Let's stop looking at rich white men as being the blueprint. They do not care about you. They care about themselves, and they care about making money. Be informed as you vote. And let's be informed as you vote, and let's come together. Why is it that we're doubting a woman? Why is it you're doubting a person of color? We have the opportunity to dig into these long-held belief systems about who deserves what and who should be trusted. A lot of you saw that Trump is a wealthy man, and that's all you needed to know, because you think that proximity to whiteness brings wealth. While that might be true in your present situation, there's always going to be a glass ceiling that you hit as a person of color or as a woman. I shouldn't have to tell you these things, but clearly I do. They have never, ever, ever had your best interests at heart. They haven't. Now is the time that we can actually we can actually be the land of opportunity for all people. But you have to look at the people who don't want it to be the land of opportunity for all people, and just know, if you are not white and a man, they will not hesitate. They will not hesitate to take you out, which is what they're starting to do. So don't be surprised. They're telling you who they are.